Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 10th of October, 2023. Coming up this edition of the Tuesday Rant, topics will be terror in the Middle East, more Israel stuff, more Hamas stuff, and the unnecessary violence. And plus our government's virtue and lame stance. Of course, Justin Trudeau, and of course his powerful speeches on BS and his lackadaisical approach to anything that doesn't involve, hard work, of course. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. I might be swearing a little bit more in this show, so brace yourself. Plus, I smoke cigarettes. I'll be back in a bit. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tuesday Rant for 10th of October. Terror in the Middle East, the war with Israel and Hamas, and of course our government's virtue and lame stance. What else do you expect from the Liberal Party? They're as liberal as a fart, all big and stinky, and just disappear. Yes, of course, I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Welcome. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend. It's been an interesting weekend, to say the least. I had a great talk the other night there with the fine people at Northern Perspective, Cypher and Fox. They put on a great show, had a great conversation. I really enjoyed everything that we talked about. And I want to say thank you out there, my new subscribers who have subscribed since that broadcast. Thank you very much. One round of applause for all yous out there. You guys are fantastic. Keep on subscribing, keep liking, keep sharing, all that good stuff. Keep the Canadian algorithm up there so other Canucks can see my work, your work, if you do anything, and other Canadians out there that have something to say on every subject matter that affects us every day. And a big thank you out there to some of my new American listeners. I'm seeing more and more come up from the state of Oregon. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Well done. And let's keep the rants going. As I said, episode 235, Terror in the Middle East, Israel, and our government's virtue and lame stance. So, like I said, I'm going to be swearing a lot because this really, really pisses me off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So, in the past few days since Saturday, we have seen a lot of protests in every major city in this country, from Winnipeg to Vancouver to Edmonton, Montreal and Toronto. A lot of people waving the Palestinian flag, condemning Israel. Now, I don't know about you. I was not raised in a household where you condemn anybody for their religious belief. When we're growing up as kids, we used to make fun of Jehovah's, make fun of Mormons, make fun of people knocking your door, spreading whatever gospel. That's fine. But I'm in a stage of my life right now where I'm not going to go away to harm anybody if they're a devout Christian, or going to harm anybody who is a devout Muslim, or harm anybody who is a devout Judaist or a Jew. I'm not going to harm anybody who is a devout Buddhist or a Sikh or a devout atheist. Okay? I believe in live and let live. It's shit fucking simple. And yet when you watch the footage, okay, I didn't put any war footage on here. I just don't fucking fathom it right now. But when you watch the footage of how they came into certain areas with paragliders and motorcycles and broke down barricades with guns ablazing, killing, shooting random people, cutting off heads of children, hurting women, raping women, grabbing teenage girls, throwing in the back of pickup trucks, screaming the magic words, Al Akbar. Are you doing anything really good for the Muslims out there who care about the plight of the world? Or are you just pulling this fucking ideology out of your head? Now, I've got no respect for any fucking terrorist. I don't care if your background is Christian. I don't care if your background is Jewish. I don't care if your background's Muslim. I don't care if your background's a new goddamn religion that come out of the fucking sun or out of your asshole and you're trying to kill people in the name of it. If your religion tells you you must slaughter innocents, then get a new fucking religion. It's that fucking simple. Okay? It's that simple. And I'm all for freedom of speech in this country too, freedom of expression. You want to promote your country's welfare on the streets of Canada? Yes, you can. I will fight for your right to say that, to do that. But in the same sense, we're having politicians and leaders and bureaucrats alike who are taking sides in this issue. Sides where, oh, the oppression here and the oppression there and the aggression of this and the aggression of that. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, both countries have the right to fucking exist. Pure and simple. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're from Lebanon. I don't care if you're Lebanese. I don't care if you're Palestinian. I don't care if you're Israeli. I don't care if you're from Syria. I don't care if you're from Jordan. I don't care if you're from Timbuktu. You have every right to exist and love your country and do the best you can for said country or whatever country you want to work for or live in or thrive in. That's the magic word, to thrive. Now, historically, the Palestinians have done some stupid and terrible things. Historically, the Israelis have done some terrible and stupid things too. But here in Canada, you can live here and thrive without worrying about your faith. You can thrive without worrying about the color of your skin. And there's people who've tried to challenge me on that too. And I'll debate any motherfucker or motherfuckette who wants to get in my face and tell me about oppression Olympics. There's been unfairness in this country for a long time in regards to certain situations. But we're seeing more and more unfairness when it comes to working class Canadians trying to get ahead. Okay? Now, I'm not going to put any videos up here. There's a little speech that Justin did when he was talking about the intolerance of the violence of the Hamas regime. Now, I'm not blaming all Palestinians, nor am I blaming all Israelis for the atrocities. There are certain officials on both sides in Hamas and in the Israeli intelligence and defense sector that have done some really, really stupid fucking things. Do I have an example of it? I just can't pull it out of my ass right now. But look at a lot of the wars and a lot of the reasons why people have had to stand to in Israel. Look at all the reasons why a lot of people in Palestine were scared to take a stand against the atrocities, especially the atrocities they committed against themselves in the name of Hamas, in the name of the ideology. Now, there's speculation that Iran has funded it. Now, I'm not saying the whole people of Iran have funded it, but the Iranian regime, remnants of the revolution they had in 1979, are big supporters of killing Jewish people. All right? As far as I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen, Israel has the right to exist. So does Palestine, so does Lebanon, so does every country in that area, so does every country on the fucking globe. Right? And when you hear people saying, oh, they have no right to exist, oh, it's not a real state, it's not this, yet you're living in a real country. Which is it? Right? You live in a country where you can, well, that might change, who knows, where you can still speak your mind. But see, what gets me with everyone waving the Palestinian flag and the Star of David, okay, where was all the support when the convoy guys were waving the maple leaf? This thing. Hey? What's wrong with this flag? There are people in my life who died because of this and believed in it. No one is making light of what is going on in Israel. No one is making light of the plight of that area. But we live in a country where you can thrive. And we have bureaucrats and politicians who are stifling that, who are deflecting that as we speak. Okay? So I'm going to ask just the regular viewer here, the regular viewer who's seeing this show the first time or happens to be a fan who wants to watch more of this show and listen to my podcast. Do you want that kind of chaos and garbage brought here to Canada? Do you want to see people fighting in the streets in Toronto, in Montreal, Kitchener-Waterloo, London, Ontario, Owen Sound, Ontario? Do you want to see people fighting in the streets over religious divide, over ideological divides? Do you want to see that? I don't, because I've seen it, and it fucking sucks. Do you want to see it? Are you going to compare to every piece of violence to what happened in the United States on January 6th? Are you going to compare what real violence in the world is to what you saw during the Freedom Convoy? I know some of you lefties out there like to go, freedom, because you think the government was doing us a favor. Well, I got news for you. They were not. Because I know friends personally who got kicked out of the service because of their stance towards the jibby jab. and people that lost their jobs because of the jibby jab. Yours truly lost some work because of that mentality. So while we have our politicians sitting there condemning Hamas, and rightfully so, okay, where were they when we had our own people standing up against something in a non-violent sort of way? Think about that.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, the Tuesday Rant for 10th October 2023. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Episode 235. Yes, topics: terror in the Middle East, Israel, and our government's virtue and lame stance. Yes, pardon my expressions there. I was getting too emotional. But I think you can see why. You've heard me ramble on and rant and rave all the time about my time in the services. And my war experiences are different than some of my other buddies. Their experiences are different than some of our instructors, and so on and so on. Okay? I was not saturated under enemy fire all the goddamn time. I was not saturated and pinned down all the fucking time. We did some patrols. We did some training. We got into some fucking firefights. We got to see the reality of the situation we were in, which in turn validated a lot of our careers too. Why do we do this? Why did we fight? Why did we volunteer for our military to serve our country and to go to Afghanistan and do our thing? Because we thought it was the right thing to do. But when you look at those videos of the guys in the paragliders and people running for their lives, that's a fucking bitter reality of any invasion or any of attacks. That's why it kind of triggered me, because it reminded me of a couple of situations I was in where we'd see villagers flee. Or I may have a situation where I saw a lot of bodies. In a situation where there was nothing but silence. And I'm talking a dead silence. There was an area we patrolled in, which was known for its nice pathways, nice little stream on the side. It looked picturesque. It was peaceful. You'd hear the birds every morning. That same area, not a peep. A dead silence. To this day, it still freaks the fuck out of me, but there were no birds. So when you get these individuals who talk about war and pain and oppression, a lot of you fuckers have never seen it. Just what you read in school. Just what you were told by your neighbor. I highly suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that to my lefty crowd out there, if you do have the guts to watch this and try to engage with me, I highly suggest you talk to somebody who lived in Eastern Europe during the 1980s. And you talk to somebody who lived in Cuba just prior to Fidel's death. Talk to somebody who lives in Venezuela. And you talk to somebody who actually fled some of the ideologue states mentioned by Hamas, or people that survived the Iranian Revolution. Now, I'm not blaming the Palestinian people. I blame Hamas. I'm not blaming Iran. I blame their influence in Hamas. I blame anyone who has funded those mofos to do what they did. Can't live in peace? Why? Oh, we're taking our land back. From what? From a biblical era? From this era? Now, I don't know all the juicy details and what side did what to whom, but I know Israel is a working democracy, and if you live in Israel, you have every right to thrive and carry on about your business, just like you do in Canada or the United States or in Britain or in France or Germany. But then again, why are we seeing all this footage all of a sudden too? It makes you think. Why are we seeing all this footage in regards to their invasion compared to how much footage is out there of the Ukraine war? And there's a tactic too. Are they trying to deflect other things too? Are they trying to deflect and get our minds off of this? Well, media has manipulated us for a very, very long time. Right? Since the better part of the 1960s. Are things finally coming to fruition in some sick sense? Are things coming to surface and we're starting to think for ourselves one more time? Let's turn the TV off and look around the world. As far as I'm concerned, everyone living in Canada, ladies and gentlemen, is Canadian. Doesn't faze me if you're Asian, doesn't faze me if you're Black, doesn't faze me if you're First Nations, doesn't faze me if you're from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Goa, if you're from the continent of Africa, if you're from anywhere. You want to live here and live your life to the best of your ability and thrive and hope for the best and have a good future, then as far as I'm concerned, you're a Canuck. It doesn't matter. I look at you as a person, as a man or as a woman. I'm not going to bow to the pronouns and the ideology. I will bow to reality, but I will bow for no man or woman. I will stand true to my principles, and I expect you to stand true to your principles as well, to do what's right. And what's going on in Israel right now, and how the media is playing it, and how all these protests are going on, promoting this side or that side, that's not fucking right either.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And one more time, ladies and gentlemen, too, if you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe and share this podcast all over your social media platforms. Give me a thumbs up and a like, too. It helps the algorithm and lets the Canadian powers that be know, don't fuck with the living. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, and welcome back to Tuesday Rant for this 10th of October, 2023. Now, as I was saying about what's not right, you can protest anything you want in this country, freedom of speech. But I'm not seeing too many crackdowns, because there are a lot of Canadians of all colors and creeds, all shapes and sizes, back in February of 2022, protest something. And look how our government reacted to that. But now our government doesn't really want to react to anything other than toting a virtue. Now, I'm going to play a video of what Justin said about his condemnation of Hamas. And I really, really want you to listen and look for some key words in there too, like clear and condemnation. That's for you to decide, my friends. But, see if he's genuine or not. I'll just cue this up here. See if he's actually genuine about his stance.
Of death and violence and terror has no place anywhere, including, especially here in Canada. So let me be very clear. Hamas terrorists aren't a resistance. They're not freedom fighters. They are terrorists. And no one in Canada should be supporting them, much less celebrating them.
Oh, he looks mad.
Canada unequivocally and in the strongest possible terms condemns these terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas. We stand with Israel and reaffirm our support for Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law.
Yeah, that was our beloved potato puppet funk boy, Perk Plus aficionado Prime Minister, taking a stand. Great. Now, we're a laughing stock in the world right now because of some of his decisions and the leadership he's appointed over the past 8 years in regards to international affairs, security, intelligence, and, of course, our military. Now, I'm not going to ramble on about our military again. You've heard me talk about the last time on the show here. But I'll leave some articles and links, and I'll put that video in the link too for you guys to listen to and decide at your own leisure, and how our Prime Minister is just a fuddle-duddy, fuddy-duddy, and just a wanker altogether. But interesting enough, there was a tweet that came from QP Ontario. I believe the actual local number is QP, CUPE, local 3906. Okay, and this came from the QP president, and I'll just read along for you all there. You're not idiots, my friends. You are wonderful people. But for those who are tinkering around doing something else while I'm sitting watching this, I'll just read this along for your benefit and just some of the things. This came out of Toronto 99, independent news. Now, they're kind of a left-leaning program. They're kind of a left-leaning little news service. But I come across this article this morning, and I'm just like, okay, this is pretty cool. So I'll share it with you all anyway. I'll just read along. to make it all worth your while, ladies and gents. So it's from Toronto 1999, written by Mark Slapinski today, actually. So QP Ontario president supports anti-Israel terrorism. Okay, and there's a video with this too. So public sector unions are becoming increasingly militant in Canada, and QP is no exception. Fred Hahn, now we've all seen him. He's the outed, he's a proud homosexual male. Good for him. Whatever rocks your boat. I personally don't effing care. But Fred Hahn, the president of the QP Ontario, an open homosexual, has shown support for terrorist actions of the anti-Israel organization known as Hamas. QP Local 3906 responded to devastating attacks in Israel, which saw hundreds of innocent people slaughtered by Islamic militants by writing, "Palestine is rising, long live the resistance." While the post was condemned by conservatives and Israel supporters across the country, Hahn didn't condemn the post. Instead, he liked it on X, Twitter, indicating that he endorses anti-Israel message. Okay. So, Wyatt Claypool, journalist and publisher of the National Telegraph, slammed QP and its president on X. I was waiting for QP to try to distance themselves from the person operating QP Local 396 account, but turns out that QP's leadership is super into murdering Jewish women and children in their homes. Nobody should ever stop referencing this when QP smears parental rights, added Claypool. It is noble that QP has been supportive with teachers that engage in grooming behavior in schools. QP's media department was asked to provide a comment, but did not provide an immediate response. Toronto 99 previously reported on a far-left university professor that showed similar support for Hamas. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave this article in the, I'll leave it in the description for you is there too. But it puts things in perspective now, doesn't it? Okay. Now, the QP union was out there during the Million March for Children, stating, you're promoting nothing but hatred, and you're promoting nothing but segregation and bigotry, and yet now you're going to support terrorists attacking? Hamas is terrorists. Okay, nobody in their right mind is saying all Palestinians and all Iranians and all Iraqis are all terrorists. There's an ideology twisted in that. No one's saying all Afghanis are Taliban too. You know what I mean? I met some wonderful people when I was in Afghanistan, some down to earth, good human beings, and not all of them were terrible. Okay, but we're seeing this shit come full circle. And what I'm saying here is we got to stop this shit. And we got to start putting leaders in power that want to do something meaningful and eventful. We got to start selecting leaders and bureaucrats alike that give a shit, not just about an ideology. Screw the ideology. QP should be representing the workers, not an ideology. Any union, for that matter, should be representing the workers to the best of their fucking ability. But we got to see that shit from QP. So I plead with you, my audience. Hold your union bosses accountable. Hold your bureaucrats accountable. Hold your governors, your senators, your MPs, your MLAs accountable. And let's start fighting the good fight for democracy, peace, and prosperity for all.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And one more time, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to hear what you see, please click like and subscribe and share this podcast all over your social media platform. I'm Crusty Canuck, your loving, and honorable host here for episode 235, the Tuesday Rant, the Crusty Canuck podcast. Terror in the Middle East with Israel and our government's virtue and lame stance. So I think I've covered all tracks in this episode so far, but I'm just so fucking angry I have to criticize and point fingers some more. Try not to be the keyboard warrior, but just a concerned Canadian, a taxpayer, a veteran, a husband, an uncle, and someone who will die for this country in a fucking heartbeat. What say you, ladies and gentlemen? What say you? That's just me and my stance. A true libertarian doesn't believe in war, but will fight when he or she has to. Is there something creeping up? Is World War III really about to begin now because they're using this as a deflection for something else? It's something in the works. Now, I've seen and heard a few podcasts the past couple of days that made reference to the Bible. Okay. I'm not a religious man. My wife's not a religious woman. Okay. But we do respect the church, meaning we respect its place for people to gather and worship. We respect mosques. We respect synagogues too. We respect Sikh temples, Buddhist temples. We respect any and every place of worship because that is the right you have in this country to do it. And it doesn't matter if you're a Mormon knocking on a door doing your year-long quest, or a Jehovah's Witness knocking your door to talk to you about the gospel, or anybody knocking your door to talk to you about God. I've had many conversations with Jehovah's and Mormons over the years, and it's quite an enlightening conversation. That doesn't mean I'm going to be converted. I have my own personal beliefs. Why? Because the biggest minority, if not in your town or your municipality, but your country, is the individual. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter if you're gay. It doesn't matter if you're straight. It doesn't matter if you're bi, whatever. Just don't fucking hit people and take their stuff. Yet why is that so hard? Oh, because history used to do this, and history said that, and history is about this. History. Exactly what it fucking is. It's history. What's going on now? You're going to blame colonialists again? Oh, those white people, I tell you. Oh, shame. Up yours. Okay? I will sit and break bread or have tea or have a drink with anyone. I will sit and talk shop, talk politics, talk life with anyone. But when you see what QP was doing, when you see what our prime minister did, when you're seeing this great divide between all groups of Canadians, Jewish, Muslim, Christian Canadians alike, it's got to stop. Period. It's got to fucking stop. And it's got to fucking stop now.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tuesday Rant. I'm Crusty Canuck for episode 235 on this beautiful 10th of October. Terror in the Middle East, Israel attacked by Hamas, and our government's virtue and lame stance, of course. Welcome back, and one more time, if you're liking here to see, please click like and subscribe, and please share this content all over your social media platforms, and give me a thumbs up and a comment. I'm not going to sit here and beg for it, but when you do that, when you help us Canadian podcasters and creators alike, it ups the algorithm, and it gets caught into a stream where people can actually see it without having to ask for permission from our beloved dear leaders that like to, give you the reach around for a price. And if you want to support me financially, there's links in the description too. I added a new support element called the Ask Me application there too. You click on that, you ask me a question, a legitimate question, nothing X-rated or vulgar or just filthy. And it might cost you $5, but I'm trying to make some money at this podcast too. And it takes you, my wonderful audience, to make that happen as well too. I'm still sorting out some tax issues with the forms that my host gave me. I'm not familiar with American tax laws, so some of the numbers and stuff I have to find. So, but anyway, make a long story short, it's a work in progress. In the meantime, you wonderful people out there, if you want to donate to me, please do. If you don't, you don't have to. I'm not going to demand it. But I just put some different options. You have choices as a consumer and as a listener to decide for yourself. And I've been freedom of choice, ladies and gentlemen, and so shall you. Anyway, carrying on with this episode the last little bit. So I'm not going to apologize for getting emotional because I love my country. Shit. Guilty as charged. Because I fought for this country. I spent 20 years serving this country, and I will die here. It's worth fighting for, like the old Midnight Oil song, My Country, Right or Wrong. Every country has its bad bits of history. Every nation has its bad bits of history. But they also have some wonderful and great history, too. Right? The airplane was invented in the United States. So was the automobile. Where did Canada invent? They invented insulin. Little things like that that have contributed to our societies for years. Time and time again. Those are just a few examples. There's a vast array of inventions and success stories that have come from both of our countries. And yes, Canada was native land. So was the United States. So was Mexico. So was Central America. So were all the Caribbean islands surrounding the great continent of North America. And South America, too, at one time was native land. Prior to humans actually standing up and using their thumbs, a lot of the Middle Eastern countries were native lands to other races, to other species, possibly. No matter how old this planet is, the human race is still young in comparison. And we got to do better, ladies and gentlemen. So regardless of what hill you want to die on, let's hope it's a noble hill. The toque I wear in my hat, yeah, it's part of my shtick, but it also carries the flag of the country that I love. And there's nothing wrong with loving your nation. It doesn't matter if you're Australian, doesn't matter if you're New Zealand, doesn't matter if you're English, Scottish, Irish, Welsh, British, German, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Moroccan, Egyptian, Palestinian, or Israeli. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that we're supposed to get along. My logic is, what does Hamas hope to gain? Let's say hypothetically they end up kicking Israel's ass, then what? You're going to move all the Jewish people that live there? Or do you want to kill them all? Gee, is that anti-Semitic? I wonder. Makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you think on a bigger scale, too. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I was not raised in a household where I condemn any man or woman for being what faith they are. Whatever guides you, whatever your light is, you go for that light. If you find solace in going to church every Sunday, fine. If you find solace in going to a mosque, I believe it's every Friday, fine, or Wednesday. If you go to a synagogue every Saturday, fine. Every time you go to your Sikh temple and you praise your gods, fine. If you're Buddhist, fine. If your solace is knocking on people's door, spreading your words of wisdom and hope to people, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That freedom has to be defended in this country. Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. Everyone's freedom in this country must be defended, and that includes freedom to protest everything too. And the government and bureaucrats alike cannot pick and choose what fucking battles they want to get into, because they represent the leadership in this nation. That includes you, QP, and your virtue toasting fucking bullshit. And you too, Justin, and your libtardy party. Right? Yes, condemn the violence. But a lot of Canadians condemn the violence that you promoted back in February of 2022. Something to think about in different perspectives, right? So that's your lame stance that you're with right now. A lot of people aren't believing you. And to all these unionists out there that want to smash and dismantle the parental unit, which has been proven on the Million Man March or the Million March for Children, your days are numbered too. I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 10th of October, 2023. Once again, an honorable mention and a big thank you to my friends at Northern Perspective, Cypher and Fox. You guys have done a wonderful job thus far. You're gaining subscriptions. And because of you, I'm gaining subscriptions, ladies and gentlemen. Well done on YouTube. Well done. And I also want to thank my newer audience. I've got a few more subscribers that have come to me on Rumble. Well done. Thank you very much. And more downloads on the Podbean, my hosting page for the podcast. So thank you to my new American and my new Canadian listeners alike. I'm trying to branch out around the globe too, but I'm getting enough downloads to catch attention. So we'll just keep on trucking, keep it going, keep it going. And you, my wonderful ones, please share my work around all your social media platforms. And don't hesitate. If you want to ask me a question, use the Ask Me application in my description, or just send me an email and ask me what's on your mind, or tell me something, whatever. Keep it clean. Don't be vulgar, right? And if I get enough emails, I will actually read them on the show here for you too, if you'd like. So, okay, something to think about. Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. And anyway, make a long story short, it's been a pretty interesting few days. And the best we can do is just do better and to look after what we can and try to keep everything sane and stable so we can live in prosperity, progress, proper progress, and in peace. Because we all deserve to thrive, and we need that security and freedom to do so. I think the country has what it takes to keep it happening for all of us here. All colors, all creeds, all shapes and sizes, all genders, all identities, all of our peoples. All of our peoples. Anyway, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 10th of October, 2023. I wish nothing but good things. I hope you're all leftovers, because I know I am. Which reminds me, I have to start prepping it shortly before my loving wife gets home from work. But I'll be back at work myself, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back next Tuesday for another Tuesday rant, and the following Saturday, another regular podcast. Like I said, I wish nothing but good things for you all. Look after your friends and loved ones, and help your neighbors, and help each other out in these trying times. And like I always say, humanity parent wins the day. Take care. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthy.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.